Hey guys, welcome to podcast number 2 with your Lock and Roll Stars. That's us. And now we have a fourth. Today is our fourth. We have Rob Kahn.
Hello, America.
North. King of the North.
King of the North, bitches.
I always relate the Gracie Tampa schools to Game of Thrones.
It's a great show.
Rob's King of the North.
Yeah, so they love him up north. They just had him up. They just had both you guys up, right? For black belt for butterflies.
That was back a few months ago.
Yeah.
Robbie almost got me under federal indictment.
No, it wasn't that bad.
I got to hear this story now.
Go ahead, Rob. You tell it.
Oh, okay. So, me and Robbie go for a charity event, Black Belt for Butterflies. Great event. And Rich McKeegan, super nice kid.
Great guy.
You know, he puts together this charity for autism, for children's autism. It's a great charity. And he has a weekend of Jiu-Jitsu, you know, where black belts go up and donate their, you know, like do a seminar for the autism charity. And me and Robbie went up to do it. And Rich goes out of his way to make us feel like super at home, super comfortable. And, you know, they got us a nice hotel room. They picked us up from the airport. They really went, you know, first class operation. And so they needed a credit card though for, you know, incidentals or whatever. So I gave him my credit card, and
These rooms were donated
the rooms were donated
by the hotel because it was a charity event.
and there was something that they were going to get some advertising from the butterfly. There was some advertising benefit they were going to get from it too.
Right.
But yeah, so they put us up in this hotel room, and I get a call like a few weeks afterwards, and apparently, and I remember, you know, Robbie was smoking a little weed, and or a lot of it. And I remember telling him, like, just make sure you throw all that shit out before we leave. Like, I don't need to deal with this any potential issues. And of course, Robbie being Robbie left every fucking thing there.
I couldn't take it on a plane with me.
And so
I left it kind of neatly though. I left it like
Yes.
in a pile.
So
like not that big of a deal. I've done it before in hotels.
from what I understand, like the manager of the place or whoever she was like one of these Bible belter, you know, like super Christian people. And she actually went to the police. She called the police to see if they could press charges on us.
Police officer was one of the students of the gym we were doing. We were doing a seminar at.
And they were like, "Lady, you can't press charges on these guys for you know, leaving weed in their room, like leaving a paraphernalia in the room, or whatever." But she charged. She hit us with a smoking charge and like a room cleaning fee charge. Like,
Oh my god!
like $300 or $400
$300.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. She banged my credit card for $300 as a way to basically give me a fuck you for smoking weed in our hotel.
And you don't even really smoke weed.
No, you smoked it.
I know.
It gives me panic attacks.
I'll bet the charge on your card gave you a panic attack too.
I felt bad. McKeegan calls me up. He's like, "I am so sorry. I'll try and get this fixed." And he was telling me about it before I saw the statement. So I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. He's like, "Yeah, you because they called me and she's charging you $300 for the weed." And I'm like, and I didn't put two and two together. I'm like, "What weed?" I got it. Robbie.
Why can't it just be legal? Jeez.
Nah, I know, but that's ridiculous. I guess that's a podcast question for another day.
Yeah.
Actually, next week we're gonna have a podcast basically solely about that subject with Tom Quigley,
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Nice.
that's right, Mr. Legalization in Florida, right?
guru for legalization on
has all the
marijuana. So he's coming in next weekend. Super excited to have him.
Yes, sir.
He's a good dude.
Mm-hmm. Rob's voting for Hillary now.
Yes. Let me tell you, I never thought those words would ever come out of my mouth. But I
Donald
fucking
Trump
hate Trump. I can't stand the guy. Like, and the problem is they're both fucking shady. So it's like, is she shady? Yes. Is she like a fucking train wreck? Yes. But Like, who's gonna make a bigger fucking mess?
Yeah.
Like, when Donald Trump, with his fucking ego and his lack of understanding of politics, gets into fucking office, what's going to happen? Like,
It's a
gonna
big
need a-
I don't
question
know at
mark.
all.
it's
We might be in a nuclear war.
Oh,
Well,
dude.
he had said like when Obama went to China, and they purposely disrespected Obama. They didn't bring out the right like a proper jetway thing. Obama handled it like a politician, like a gentleman. He didn't whatever. Trump's like, I would have fucking told my pilot to get back in the plane. I would have fucking left. So you would have blown up fucking American-Chinese relations over
Over an entrance.
a stairway.
Yeah.
Like
He's
like he thinks with his fucking ego,
Yeah.
24/7. And
I kind of agree with that, though.
I do too.
what?
Just blow it up.
Oh. Sonny's a Trump supporter.
Oh, yeah.
Big
Are you
time.
voting for him?
Oh, yeah.
Bro, you were like the most liberal human being when you got down here.
Things change.
Bro, you're like fucking your worldviews are like jello.
They're definitely a little bit weird, but
You came down here as the most liberal fucking person on the
and
planet.
I was also fat and out of
So your common sense went with your cellulite.
exactly. No, it came back. Now I have common sense.
I like the idea of Trump of some of his ideas, but I don't like him. He's just
No,
crazy.
honestly, I don't care about Trump. I don't like him. I'm just voting Republican for the first time. And I'm pretty committed to that because
It's like a check off the block.
That's
yeah.
weird. What is that, like a bucket
Well-
list thing? I want to vote Republican once in my lifetime.
No, I just the issue that I care about the most is political correctness. I hate political correctness, and so I'm voting for Trump. That's basically it.
This is why Trump might win. People
Exactly.
I
fucking
was
the Middle East about to explode. We have fucking China. We have all these fucking issues.
What you just said about shit blowing up, right? Obama's afraid to call it Islamic extremism. Why is he afraid to call it what it is? That's how are you going to defeat something you can't even call it what it is. That's what I'm saying. I hate that shit. So that's why I'm voting Republican.
I think at the end of the
That
day,
is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
All right. Well,
No, but it's like I mean, and I don't necessarily disagree with you. Like I think a big problem is we're not calling it what it is. Like you have to have an honest conversation and say, look, there's a disproportional number of Muslims who are extreme.
Yeah, I agree. We should.
And more to the point, it's like it's not even necessarily the extremists. It's the problem. Like the KKK is the extreme version of you could almost say that's the Christian version of
Right.
extremism. The problem is it's the moderation around them. Like no Christian is going to go, well, I wouldn't necessarily burn crosses, but I'm pretty cool with the KKK. There's a big group
Yeah.
around the extremists that don't necessarily want to go out and do jihad, but they still kind of monetarily
Kind of cool with it.
Yeah, they're kind of support it, and that's an issue. That's an enormous issue.
Yeah.
and-
But then if you're, you can't. What do they call it? You can't just not let Muslims in the country.
yeah,
They won't do that.
No, and it's Sam Harris was talking about it. It was really, it's almost a weird form of bigotry, because you're almost saying, and this is the weird dichotomy of like with the liberals, like liberals stand for freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of all this stuff, equal rights for women, right? I mean, that's kind of like the liberal mantra. But they're almost basically saying, well, yeah, that's all great for Western civilization, but we got to leave these simple people alone. They're not sophisticated enough to get up with freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of equal rights for women.
That's soft
Let's leave them
bigotry.
in their it's like a form of bigotry. It's like either it's right or it's wrong. Like
That's true.
yep.
But the liberals have like a disconnect on that one, or on that's one of the things they kind of disconnect about. It's like it's either right or wrong. Like they don't get a pass for you leave the religion and you get killed. Like you don't get a pass for that.
Yeah, basically.
Because it's your custom. You know,
Exactly.
women not being able to drive, you don't get a pass for that.
Right.
Or having to cover up every part of their body in public, you know.
That's crazy.
You know, but you have to, you know, those honest conversations have to happen. But the problem is there's nuance to that. And I think Trump is the most non-nuanced person I've ever seen in my life.
Are you kidding me? Nobody has more nuance than Trump.
Oh my god.
He's the most nuanced person in the world. Come on.
It's so insane.
I have excellent nuance.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
the greatest nuance you've ever seen.
So, Rob, tell everybody where you came from, when you started doing jiu-jitsu, who you did jiu-jitsu with. Give us your story.
Okay. I was in college up in New York, Binghamton University, SUNY Binghamton. And I had been boxing kind of on and off since I got a driver's license. And, you know, I love boxing. I'd done a little martial arts here and there through the years. I never really liked it, or I wouldn't say didn't like it, but it just never really stuck with it, or really never got
Karate, Taekwondo.
Taekwondo, Tang Sudo, Aikido. I kind of dabbled with them all, or you know, and none of them was really catching me.
Right.
You know, then I got into boxing a little bit, and that to me felt much realer, like much more realistic.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, after you get in a couple rounds of boxing, like you just did something, you just sparred.
Definitely.
You know. And, you know, growing up, I loved boxing, so it seemed more of a natural fit. But again, I was young. There wasn't, you know, I had other interests like women, you know, shit like that. So I wasn't super focused on it. You know, I do it in spurts. It would be like 3 or 4 months of training and then, you know, 3 or 4 months not training so much, that type of thing. And went all the way through college with that. My senior year in college, I wanted to do the Golden Gloves. It was kind of always a bucket list thing of mine. I always wanted to try the Golden Gloves tournament. So I entered into the novice division. Right around that time, 94, the end of 94, I met John Burke, who was got schooled up in Orlando. And we met
6 levels, right?
Yeah, 6 levels Orlando. And we met through a mutual friend, and John kind of set me up. You know, he's like, hey, man, I want to spar with a boxer. I do this jiu-jitsu. It's from Brazil. And I'm like, jiu-jitsu from Brazil? What the fuck is that? I'm like, karate from Colombia? What the fuck is you know, okay, sure. So, and I'm like, how long you been doing it? He's like, well, I've been doing it for a couple months, on and off. You know, I go out to California, train with this guy. And, like, none of it made much sense to me, but I said, sure. So, day comes to spar, and he's like, look, I can't wear the big boxing gloves, so I'm not going to punch you. I'm just going to smack you. And I'm like, you know, like any American fighting was about punching each other. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
then, you know. So I'm like, wait a minute, you're not going to punch me, but I can punch you. He's like, yeah, I'm going to try and grab you. And I'm like, okay, have a ball. Well, I mean, you know how that story ends. Like, yeah, I get choked out, armbarred, like, over and over again to a guy who really was, you know, basically a new blue belt. I guess was where he was, and he just manhandled me. So I was like, "What the fuck did you just do to me?" And then he showed me the inaction tapes back then, the Gracie inaction tapes, because I had seen advertisements for UFC, but I saw the cage and I immediately thought like WWE cage match.
Fake.
I thought it was fake. I didn't even for a second consider it was a real fight. So I paid them no attention. So this was around UFC 2, I guess, when I first had some exposure to it. 2 or 3. Actually, it was 2. And then, you know, I started getting into it. I wound up injuring my knee pretty badly, and I was laid up like 3 months. So just as I started training for it, or training with John a little bit.
And what year was that?
This was the end of 94.
Okay.
So just as I started, I had literally one lesson with him, and I got injured, and I was in a leg brace for kind of like my arms for like 3 months. I dislocated my patella really badly. And so for 3 months I was laid up. When I came out of the leg brace, I kind of lost a lot of time to get ready for the novice Golden Gloves. So I went right into training for that. And I didn't really have much time to do jiu-jitsu. But I was still super interested in it. I watched I think there was 2 UFCs in that time period, 3 and 4. So I watched those. And me and John, we had become really good friends at that point. We had planned to go to California for the summer. So that I kind of said, you know what, I'll just focus on this. I'll put that off till June 1st, 1995. We were flying out there. That was going to be my first day in California. So, we did the gloves. I did the gloves. And then that was like April of 95. And between then and June, it was my senior year of college. Like, I was going to get drunk and try and, sleep with as many women as humanly possible
Smash.
in that period of time. So that's pretty much what I did.
Yeah.
And then with the idea that June 1st, I'm going to go out and start doing this jiu-jitsu.
Tell us some of those stories.
Which
How many are there, G?
17 million.
wait, which story?
Start with the funniest ones first.
Which
The women.
one? No.
All the women.
No. So I went out to California June 1st. We fly out, me and Burke. It was like Burke had met this, it was funny, this chick who worked at the Gracie Academy as like a receptionist. She was this, she was Korean or Vietnamese, but she somehow her brother had a spare room in his apartment, and at some point she had said to Burke, like, yeah, you and your friend can use this spare room, and it was the most dysfunctional, ridiculous living situation for the summer that you could possibly imagine, because like for many levels. So one, we get out there and she's a pretty girl. She's very pretty, and Burke is like, don't hook up with her. Don't screw this up. Like we got a free place to live for the summer. Like, so I hooked up with her like the first night, and things got weird after. But then it turns out she got fired from the Gracie Academy for embezzling money. She was like taking checks and like changing it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh, damn.
so there was like some drama with that, and then Hoist got wind that I was with it, and I hooked up with her, and it was like all I heard about was this chick then for the whole summer. Hoist rubbing, busting my chops about it. But anyway, she got bitter because I just hooked up with her one night, and then I kind of was like, this is probably not a good idea. And so she got really bitter, yet we're staying in her brother's apartment for free. So me and Burke were staying in a room about this size together. Now, what was weird was she lived in this apartment complex. She had her own apartment. She purposely stayed in the brother's apartment like 24/7 just to torture me. The grandmother lived there, spoke no English whatsoever, didn't understand why we were in the apartment at all, and just glared at us and talked about us in Vietnamese like 24/7. And then there was like another brother who had no interest or no sympathy for us whatsoever. So the kid that we were staying with, he was like our only somewhat supporter, but he didn't really want us there either.
Right.
So like it was just so awkward the whole summer, and Burke every day is telling me like, I told you so. I told you not to do that. I told you not to do that. I told you not to do that. And I'm like, yeah, you might be right. Like, because it was just so uncomfortable. And it was so weird, but we had no money, no other place to stay.
Right.
And it was like literally 2 cots in the room, not even beds, like cots we were sleeping on. We had to rollerblade to and from the academy every day, like 5 miles each way.
You rollerbladed?
Yeah, we
I can't
rollerbladed.
see that.
Oh my God! Do you have any pictures?
Well, no, actually, I have to say, after about 2 weeks, I said, screw this, and I bought a bike. And then it sucked because then I biked and towed Burke to and from.
That's like something out of a
Grab-
'90s kids movie.
Grabbed onto my bike, and I tow him to and from. So, like, after a full day of training, you still have, like, this 5 or 6 mile bike ride towing your friend on this rollerblades. It was crazy. But we had a lot of fun. We did a lot of training.
What was the training like back then?
We had the morning classes. You had like beginner, intermediate, advanced classes, and so I think there was 2 or 3 classes in the morning, and the Gracie Academy back then was on Carson Street, and there was a mat room about the size of, plus or minus, the small mat room at Gracie North.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so about the same mat space as that, and then upstairs you had one that was like humongous, fucking humongous. Maybe 3 times, like maybe twice the size of South's mat room.
Right.
Like just gigantic. And then there was 2 little private rooms in downstairs, and so we would go in the morning. We'd take the classes. There was a nice big break between, say, like 11 and 2, where there was nothing going on. So we would. Horion had this extensive library of videos that were never released, stuff that may or may not have been on another inaction tape, like old challenge matches that nobody had seen before. Just like it's treasure trove of cool shit. So like me and Burke would go get lunch, we'd come back and we'd start watching videotapes. And like High and Gracie's fight against Tico in the backyard where he bit his ear off.
Wow.
Like all this stuff, shelf upon shelf upon shelf. And me and Burke would just go train in the morning and then sit there for 2-3 hours watching old challenge matches in Brazil and like jiu-jitsu matches, old Hickson footage of like him sparring and just like anything you could think of. We're just like little kids in the candy store pulling out and watching the shit. And then the night classes would start and we'd go in them, whatever time it was, 4 or 5 o'clock and train till 8, 9 o'clock. Who was
teaching most of the classes?
Hoist taught. There was a guy by the name of Richard Bressler who I call him, actually just texted or Facebook with him today. I called him Patient Zero. He today is literally, I think, his 37th anniversary of training jiu-jitsu with Rorion Gracie.
Wow.
Yeah, so he was like, when Rorion first moved to the country, Richard Bressler was like his first student.
Right.
And so Richard was teaching there. He was a brown belt at the time. And another guy by the name of Lowell Anderson was a brown belt, and he taught. Hoist taught most of the intermediate and advanced classes. Richard and Lowell taught intermediate and beginner for the most part. And then they started the instructor program, and me, Burke, Eric Meyer, John Crouch, Mark Baumeister, a few other guys, Dave Ruiz, were like the inaugural instructor program class. So then we started like assisting instruction in those classes. And then every once in a while you have Rorion pop in to teach a class. Or when Elio was in town, he would teach classes sometimes too, which is cool.
Yeah.
Especially
Warren. You took classes from Elio?
Yeah. I took Elio got to a point where he was spending X number of months in LA. Then he'd go over to Miami, spend some time with the Valente brothers, and then go back to Brazil for a few months. And then just kind of cycle through those 3 spots. So Elio would be in town for a couple months at a time. And
back then, Hoist was like God back then.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Like
he just beat up a bunch of guys in the UFC.
It's like it's hard for younger guys to understand like the dynamic back then because you had Hoist Gracie, Americans, who were just like overfed on Bruce Lee movies and all this shit, and then you had this skinny little Brazilian come out of nowhere and just beat the snot out of all these big monsters and do it like without breaking a sweat. So it was like this surrealness about what Hoist was able to do to these guys. Like it was like, holy shit, this is exactly what martial arts is supposed to be.
Was there tournament jiu-jitsu in '95?
There was yes and no. There was tournaments like Gracie Academy had their tournaments. We had like in-house tournaments. There was tournaments in Brazil, but the IFBJJ didn't start till '96. And then and I think I've told this story before. Or not. I don't think I told it on air though. I remember being in the back with Richard Bressler, and we were doing something. We were folding something or whatever. Slave labor back at the Gracie Academy doing folding towels or whatever. And I think the results of the first World Championships, back then there was like there was internet, but it wasn't, it wasn't like it is today.
Right.
And there was no like jiu-jitsu web pages. There was no Facebook, social media. So like we were slowly but surely getting results of the first World Championships. And I remember Richard saying basically something along the lines of like, this tournament jiu-jitsu is going to turn jiu-jitsu into taekwondo.
Wow.
And I was like, bro, you're crazy. That's never going to happen. Like jiu-jitsu is always going to be about fighting and combat. And he's like, nope, you watch. It's going to turn it into some bullshit, taekwondo point stuff,
butt scooting,
and he was like 100% right.
Yeah,
like he nailed it. He definitely nailed it. So I'd love to take credit for the statement, but it was Richard.
I'm pro butt scooting.
It's its own thing. If that's what you want to do, it's not what Rob was doing back in 1994 or 95, but
they were about that.
It's
action.
its own sport.
Yeah, if you're doing it for the love of that, that's great. But don't confuse it with combat self-defense.
Right,
of course.
Right.
Yeah, you're gonna get your shit leaked in.
Yeah.
You decide to butt scoot.
Right. Tell us about the guy that told you that he was a Royce Gracie black belt.
I gotta hear this story.
That is the best.
Oh man,
This is like one of those, and I was acutely aware of how funny this story was going to be while it was unfolding, which is why it even got funnier, because I needed a witness to this story. That was like the problem, because I'm like, nobody's going to believe this. So we're at the UFC. Matt had just fought in the UFC. He won his fight at the fight night, and he won submission of the night. So, suffice to say, we were in a great mood. Matt just won. He won by submission. He was up for submission of the night, which he wound up winning. So we were excited. So I went to go buy a round of drinks, right? And it was, Matt Arroyo, Monster, Gabe was out there, a bunch of dudes. So I'm online, and there's this dude in front of me, and he's talking on the cell phone. And when guys are talking on the cell phone, and they clearly want everybody to hear their conversation.
trying to talk all loud and shit.
Like this guy was clearly wanting people to hear his conversation. So he mentioned something like, all right, cool, man, it's set. All right, so I'm set for the next UFC. All right, perfect. You just send it over, send the paperwork over, and we're good to go. Something like that. And I'm like, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, you know what? Fuck it, I'll bite. Like, so I said to the guy, I said, what, you're fighting in the UFC? And he turned to me and he said, yeah, I'm a UFC fighter. And just the way he said it, like, I already knew he was full of shit, but just the way he said it, it was like, really? So wait, you mean you fought in the UFC already, or you're just signed your first fight? Because it could be possibly believable that this guy was getting his first fight in the UFC and hadn't fought yet. And he said, no, I'm a UFC fighter. And I go, so you fought there before? He goes, yeah. I go, who'd you fight? And he just made up some name. Kevin Smith. I'm like, okay. Now, remember, this is back in 2006. The UFC roster was tiny. I mean, it's not like it is today. There wasn't that many people in the UFC roster to begin with. So the idea that I don't know who this guy was back in 2006 is unlikely. The idea that I didn't know who two people were in that welterweight division area, very unlikely. So I said, who'd you fight? He goes, Kevin Smith. I said, really? When was that? And it was like 3 UFCs ago, whatever. And I'm like, okay. Who do you train with? And he goes, I'm a Royce Gracie black belt. And literally, it was like, I just literally was like, thank you, God. This is so, this is so fucking
the planets aligned.
Like, this is going to be such a fucking funny story.
Because back then there
There was
5.
Yeah. There was 5 of us, and we all got him together. And he clearly wasn't in the room that day. So I said to, but now I'm at this thing like where nobody, if a bear shits in the woods,
right.
like, or if a tree falls in the woods, where the fuck the expression is, if nobody's there to see it.
I don't know what the
You know what I'm talking about. The tree falls in the woods.
Right.
They didn't really fall, whatever. And so I'm like, shit, I need witnesses to this. So he says I'm Royce Gracie. I go, really? I go, that's fucking awesome. Like, I'm a huge fan of Royce Gracie. That's fucking amazing. And I'm blowing this guy up. And we're waiting online, like slowly getting up closer to get our drinks. And I'm now this guy's biggest fan. So he's talking to me and he's loving it. He's getting like, and people are kind of overhearing the conversation. And so he's super excited. He's got a fan, and I'm talking about Royce. And I remember I said, that's like, I heard he doesn't have that many black belts. Like, that's, how long did it take you to get a black belt from him? And he's like, 10 months.
Oh, man.
He's just digging himself deeper in this hole.
I'm like, really? I'm like, that's got to be so amazing to train with that guy all the time. Like, he's, like my idol. And he's like, yeah, he's all right. He could be a dick sometimes.
Wow.
And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, but his training is awesome. And so now we're getting up close, and I said, listen, it was really nice meeting you. I'm just having one issue with this conversation. And he's like, what? Now, I'm his fan. He doesn't want to upset me. He's like, what? I go, bro, I'm a Royce Gracie black belt, and I don't know who the fuck you are. And I swear to God, he stops what he's doing. He puts out his hand for me to shake, and he's like, I'm a Royce Gracie black belt too. And I'm like, yeah, no, you're kind of full of shit. And or something like that. So he's like, no, bro, I just got it recently, and maybe Hoist hadn't told you about it. Like, this guy was, I'll give him credit, he was in it to win it. He was not
He was about his life.
So I said, okay, well, you know what, let's do this, let's call him. All right. So I call Hoist, and Hoist doesn't pick up. He's like, all over the place in Indochina or something like that. I'm doing a seminar, and he's like, bro, I swear to God, I just got it from Hoist recently. And at some point in our conversation, by the way, I did mention me. Like I said, oh, you're always crazy. Like, you ever hear of a guy named Rob Kahn? And he's like, no, never heard of him. I go, oh, he's from Tampa. No. So I did mention Tampa, and that's kind of important later in the story. So I said, okay, well, Hoist didn't pick up. I said, well, you're a Hoist Gracie black belt, right? He goes, yeah. I go, well, then you clearly know Hoist's manager and one of his closest friends, Mike Hogan. He goes, oh, yeah, I know Mike real well. I go, good, we'll call him. So I call Mike, and I get Hogan on the phone. And I'm like, Hogan, I'm sitting here with this guy. What's your name again? And the guy's like, Steve Thompson. And I said, Steve Thompson, he claims that Hoist just gave him a black belt. And, if he's lying, there's going to be a problem. So I wanted to touch base with you before, this goes farther than it should. And what Hogan's like, what are you doing, asshole? You don't fucking know how many black belt toys is given out. I go, yeah, I know, Mike. He's like, oh, you're fucking with him. I go, yeah. He's like, oh, put him on the phone. I'm like, sure. So I give him the Kogan, and Kogan says something along the lines of like, you see that guy there? He is exactly who he says he is. And if I were you, I wouldn't be going around using Hoist's name anymore, right? Now, again, I will give this kid credit. He was in it to win it. He hands me back the phone, and he goes, bro, there's been a big misunderstanding. The guy who gave me my black belt lied to me, told me he was Hoist Gracie.
Oh man.
It's amazing how he remembered that.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, this guy's impressive with how far he'll take this story. So I say, okay, let's do this. I make him buy the round of drinks. And I make him carry them back because again, if nobody witnesses this, it didn't happen, or it might not have happened. So I make him bring back the drinks to Arroyo and Monster and everybody else, and I go through the whole story with them. I'm like, guys, this is, Steve Smith, and he just told me he was a Hoist Gracie black belt, and turns out he's full of shit. And to make up for that, he's brought us this round of drinks. And so I'm like, Steve, you can give out the drinks now. And he gave out all the drinks.
The only guy I picture is Monster right there. I can picture him having a blast with that.
First they were all kind of like trying to catch up to what was going on, because they're like, wait, what? He said, like, they didn't know if I was fucking with them. Like, it took them a second to all kind of catch up to what really was going on. So he passed out the drinks. I'm like, you know what? Thanks for the drinks. Now get the fuck out of here, you lying sack of shit, or something along those lines. And so off he went, and Gabe ran into him in the bathroom, and Gabe's like very analytical, and just looked at him and he goes, that was so embarrassing. But like he wasn't saying it to even be insulting. Like he was just
like, I can't believe it.
Yeah, like oh my
just
God,
happened in front of me.
That was so embarrassing for you. Like, but I thought about it later. Like there is, again, at the time there wasn't that many American black belts. It was still relatively new to the country. But with Hoist, there was only 5. There's 5 billion people in the world.
Right. Okay.
There's 300 million people in America. So for him to pick, like,
the one guy,
like one of 5 people in America to tell this story to, like, and being in Vegas, like you couldn't get crazier odds in Vegas in anything other than than this story. Like that's like lotto type numbers.
Yeah.
In reverse, like he had the reverse lotto.
He didn't win at all. He hit the bullshit lottery, pretty much.
But yeah, that was hysterical. But I had to get witnesses to the story. That was like, to me, all I kept thinking about was like, get this guy over to Arroyo, over to Monster, over to Gabe, so they can hear this story, because nobody's gonna believe me if I don't.
That is hilarious.
There was another guy who did it in Tampa. He said he was a Hoist Gracie black belt. We were in Bahasa one night, and he didn't say it to me. He said it to Monster, and Monster wound up calling him outside, trying to fight him.
I'm sure.
I'm like, Monster, shut up! I might be able to get a student out of this.
So when did you come to Tampa?
I moved in. It was kind of crazy. I moved in October of 04. But Hoyce had we had made plans to move. We're building a house down in Tampa. Like that decision was made like early 04, but it was still in construction. And Hoyce didn't know. Like I didn't mention to him that I was moving yet, or that I was thinking about opening up a school. But Hoyce called me sometime around, I'm guessing like May or June, when this was already in process, and he was like, "Hey, I need you down in North Carolina, September 19th for a seminar." And it was just kind of an odd request, for me to go all the way to North Carolina. So I kind of had an idea that the black belt was coming, and we'd already made plans like for moving October 1st, and I was going to just open up a school as a brown belt. But it worked out. September 19th, I got my black belt. 2 weeks later, I moved to Florida and opened up the school. Like 14 days later, I was here as a black belt.
What did you do for work before you came down here?
I worked as an accountant for 3 years. I graduated with an accounting degree, and then I worked as a recruiter for accounting and finance for like 5 or 6 years.
And you loved it.
I hated it. I mean, I loved it. Like my last job was with Brian Barrick. Some of you guys have met him before. He trains with Joe Scarola up in Long Island.
Oh, yeah.
He's one of the coolest guys on the planet. I loved working with him. But I didn't, the job was just, I was over it. I was ready to teach jiu-jitsu for a living,
Mm-hmm.
And it was great because I moved down here, opened up, and it was like, that was the end of 04. The, beginning, middle of 05, the Ultimate Fighter explosion happened.
Right.
And
it was just perfect time.
It was like perfect time for a few years. That Ultimate Fighter it was just crazy.
Do you ever look at it now, what Gracie Tampa has become, and you're just like, holy shit.
I mean,
unbelievable now.
I couldn't be prouder of the accomplishment, what we've accomplished.
Yeah.
The guy, you go in Abu Dhabi, EBI, UFC, we've had 4 or 5 guys go to Abu Dhabi. Like that's, I couldn't be prouder than.
Well, not even that. We've had how many go to the UFC?
Yeah, 10 guys at UFC, but the Abu Dhabi, like everybody qualified their way there. Like that's
true. Fought their way into it.
Yeah, that to me was that's not an easy thing to get.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm super proud of all the accomplishments that the guys have done.
Yeah, there's what now, 12 schools, something like that.
Something like that. I don't even know anymore.
They keep going.
I'm not counting them anymore. We're capped out.
Yeah.
So I threw a call up on Facebook for anybody who's got questions for Rob, and of course they started rolling in. They're up on the screen here. Can you see them, Rob?
Not really.
All right.
Best advice Hoyce gave him as a student? That's a good question. Actually, it's a funny story. So I was when I first started jiu-jitsu, I picked it up pretty quick, and but I picked up a very thin aspect quick. Like I was, we were all training in the gi, and I got really good at the armbar from the guard really quickly. Not from the mount, just from the guard. Like the armbar from the guard, I picked up really, really quick, and I could catch a lot of guys with it. Like I said, very early on. Like even after, like a plus minus a few months of training, I was catching guys way more experienced than me in the armbar from the guard. And I was a young kid. I was super proud of myself. I was able to catch all these more experienced guys. And I go out one day fishing for a compliment from Hoyce, because he saw me catch somebody a few times. And I'm like, hey, Hoyce, how do you think I'm doing? Do you think I'm doing like okay? Basically waiting for the compliment, and he's like, bro, you suck. And I was like what? He's like, yeah, okay, you got a good armbar. Congratulations. He's like, your guard passing's terrible. You have no top game whatsoever. Your side mount sucks. You can't escape shit. You can't pass the guard. Congratulations on your fucking armbar. Like,
I'm pretty sure that you said that
sight.
to me.
I probably
the same
did.
way.
And and like after the butt hurting healed a little bit, I took his advice to heart and started rounding out my game more, focusing on bad positions or positions I wasn't as good at, not constantly pushing into positions that I was good at, like pulling guarding off of the armbar every single time, and trying to have a longer focus, like a more long-term focus of getting good at jiu-jitsu, not worrying so much about and again, that's a process. I mean, not to say overnight I was doing, there was always that competitive element, all the way through for a while, but the more you train, the less competitive element, or the easier it is to kind of not worry so much about that and try and focus on your game. But yeah, he could have been a little bit more politically correct about saying it, but the advice got through. And I think
wow, you're still butthurt after all these years.
Was your relationship with Royce always been since the beginning? You guys hit it off?
No. I really thought he hated me for the first year or so that I trained there. Like, it was just one of these things. Like, he's Royce Gracie. It's like, holy shit. Like, first of all, I love the art of jiu-jitsu. You fell in love with the art. I don't know if back then I had already had thoughts about opening up a school or whatever, but I definitely saw myself doing it for a lifetime. And this was Royce, like, holy shit, And so he, like anybody, I know I was young, and like anything else, trying to make a connection with this guy, so I'm making jokes, and like they were all just falling completely flat. Like, it's just not. I felt like he just wasn't getting my sense of humor. Like, there'd be all these uncomfortable silences at the beginning, and I felt like the only reason why he tolerated me is because of how close he was with John Burke. In the beginning, I'm basically like the third wheel with John Burke right now, and then like one day I remember we got into I was pissed off coming from work, and I went to the school, the Gracie Academy to train, and I forgot what I screwed something up, and Royce came in to yell at me about it, and I just had a day, and I snapped at him. Like, I remember he was like the undefeated UFC champ at this point. And he came in, and I forgot. He asked me about, did I fold the towels? And I lost my shit. Because I got stuck at work. I got stuck in traffic. I get there. I had like 20 minutes to train. So it was either like train or fold the towels. Because I was in the instructor program. And I was like, fuck this. I moved from New York to California to train, not to fold towels. And he asked me about it. And I'm like, you know what? I fucking moved out here to train, not to fold your goddamn towels. And then I was like, holy shit, I just yelled at Royce Gracie. And it was cool. Like, the next day, he was joking with me. Like, and I honestly think, at that point, and I saw it, I was witness to it. Like, when you're Royce and everybody's kissing your ass, and you're becoming a pretty big celebrity. I think kind of part of him was like, oh, it's refreshing to have somebody kind of speak his mind a little bit, and we kind of built a relationship, I think, based on that. Like, because what people don't realize, like, and Sonny's seen it up in Connecticut when he would do the tours up there. Everybody kisses his ass and like bows to him, and he's a cool dude. Like, he likes that back and forth joking around. Like, he likes ball busting. He likes, he's like a regular guy. He just likes to have fun and doesn't want everybody like treating him with like kid gloves. Like, he likes being a fucking regular dude,
Mm-hmm.
And I think we started developing that relationship at that point, and he's been nothing but a really good, loyal friend for the last 20 something years. Like, he really has. He's done a lot of great things for me that he didn't have to do over the years. He's anytime I've ever needed him for anything, he's been there for me, and I've tried to be there for him. He's a really good dude. But like I said, the first year or so, I thought he hated me. Like, I was convinced of it.
No, that's good, because snapping at him really could have gone wrong.
I know.
Oh, bro, I was scared to death. And again, I'm probably making it more dramatic than it was. It was very dramatic to me as a blue belt, like a new blue belt in the room. And he's like, "You did fold towels?" I'm like, "No, I didn't fold your fucking towels." Like, he probably was like, "Oh, wacko from New York, whatever." So it was probably much bigger in my mind than it was in his.
What do you think about these guys on the
Sonny, your wife is perverted. Look at that.
I know.
What does he think of Sonny's driving?
No, how does he wipe his ass?
How does he wipe his ass?
And then someone else wanted to know as well.
For anyone who doesn't know, Rob has tore both of his biceps on each arm and is in double cast right now. So he's walking around like a
You guys are all
cyborg.
too focused on how I wipe my ass, by the way.
And that's the big question. How does Rob wipe his ass?
He uses the force.
Darlene Witham wants to know, is there any secret to staying clear-minded while in a bad situation as far as mount or side control? And if mount is the most dominant position, how do you escape without going apeshit and using a lot of energy?
Yeah, that's an easy question to answer on a fucking radio podcast.
You're going to take your left foot.
Okay, let's try and picture this. Let's go back to the beginning of that question. Is there any secret to staying clear-minded? Yeah, relax. I mean, it really boils down to being relaxed is a binary thing. You either are or you're not. Like, nothing drives me crazier than when people are like, well, I'm getting better. No. It's like being a little bit pregnant. You know what I'm saying? Like, you either are or you're not. So, like, either you're relaxed and focusing on relaxing, or you're not. And most people, their mindset's kind of like, you know what? I'm going to win today. I'll relax tomorrow. And you got to start just focusing. Relaxing should be the priority. Not winning, not losing. Relaxing first, and then you get better at training while relaxed. And the windows start opening up to you, and the escapes start showing themselves to you much clearer, and all good things start happening. But like anything else, until you do it a bunch of times, you're not going to be good at it. You're not going to see the openings. You're not going to see the benefit right off the bat. You just have to trust that if I bring my energy levels down and relaxed, I'll see more of the chessboard. In terms of escaping, there is no secret to how somebody's going to escape a mount. It's elbow escape or UPA. I mean, there really isn't much else. So the question with escaping is never what I'm going to use. It's when do I use it? And to me, it's like going apeshit. All you do when you go apeshit escaping, unless you're much bigger and stronger than the guy mounted you, all you really do is put the guy on top of you, totally focused on holding position. And now you're in a situation where you have a guy mounted on you whose only focus in life is holding the position. You're going to have a fucking hell of a time getting out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, going apeshit, it's causing the exact opposite conditions you'd like with the guy on top of you. Not giving him any energy, relaxing, letting him go for a submission hold is going to create the openings for you to escape. And that's about as good of an answer I'm going to be able to give without demonstrating on the mat.
Good answer.
My wife wants to know, what do you think of Sonny's driving?
You guys have all driven with Sonny, right?
Yeah, I did. Say that you would take me here.
There's a real problem with Sonny's driving in that there are people out there who are bad drivers and they recognize that fact and they go accordingly from there. Sonny not only doesn't recognize the fact that he's a bad driver, he thinks he's a good one. And so he decides to multitask while he's driving. He will be answering a text, an email, Snapchatting, and doing a Facebook post all while driving.
I know. And you're scared to death.
And you literally go off into the shoulder like 4 or 5 times a mile while you're driving with him. He had to take me to a wedding one time from upstate New York to Connecticut, or Connecticut to upstate New York.
Yeah,
right?
it was from Connecticut.
So, I mean, he was nice enough to drive me over, like 2 hours away to a wedding I had to go to.
And I just want to say that you were in a rush.
Okay. I wasn't in that big of a rush.
No, you were in a rush.
Okay. So, we get to a 4-way intersection, right? And north and south have a stop sign. East and west do not. Okay? So, we are going north and south. So, the guy in front of us stops at the stop sign, right? Sonny, like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Goes around the guy, right through the intersection, right? We almost get T-boned on either side. I'm like, car, like right out of a movie, like cars almost crash. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, oh, was there a stop sign back there?
Now, listen, in my defense, that this particular intersection, you know, they had a small stop sign. It only went up to like 4 feet high, you know, and it was
You were
blocked.
looking above it.
It was blocked by the car in front of me.
And
I couldn't see it. And I thought the guy literally was just slowing down for no reason.
You mean it was blocked by the car in front of you stopping for it?
Exactly. I mean, I definitely would have got a ticket if someone had seen that for sure.
Yeah.
But did you die? No. You got to the wedding on time.
The conditions were in place for me to die in that situation. FYI.
That's not the only story about Sonny in the car with you. Did you burn him with a laser once?
Yes. I have this. I just told this story recently. I have this super high-powered laser, people, and I'm not kidding you. The thing will, if you put it on like a piece of paper, it will set the paper afire. That's how hot this thing is. Like, it's ridiculous. And
I know.
And so Sonny and I went up to Orlando to this gun store. A buddy of mine owns in Orlando, Lewis, and we were up there for whatever, I forget what it was. And the thing about this laser is it is so bright. Like if you shine it at night, like if you're in your car and you shine it, it's gonna light up the entire inside of the car. I mean, it's not like your little red pen laser. This thing is ridiculous. But it was like 12 o'clock on a sunny day in Florida. So the ambient light wasn't so bad, right? So I'm in the car with Sonny, and he's putting his seatbelt on or whatever, and I just kind of aim it and I burn him in his inner thigh, right? And he jumps. He's like, ow, 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 ow. I'm like, what's the matter? Are you all right? And he's like, bro, I think a wasp got me.
Dude,
And I'm like,
I
really?
was sure there was a wasp.
I'm like, did you get it? He's like, I don't know. Oh my God, that hurt. I'm like, yeah, that sucks. I hate when that happens, right?
And I was really nervous about just driving on from there because, you know, there's a wasp in the car.
So then I burnt him again. I don't know if I got him 2 or 3 times, but I burnt him a few more times. And every time he's like stopping the car, he's searching for this wasp to kill this wasp that keeps biting him.
You had a straight face.
I wound up losing it. I couldn't.
He did. He finally lost it. And I look over him. I'm like, why are you laughing? And he shows me the laser. And he's like, I've been burning you in the leg with this. Unbelievable. I'm trying to grab it from him while we're driving down the highway.
Oh, it was funny as hell. He's like, freaking wasp. He gave me like the perfect excuse now because now I have this wasp thing. Like, I'm like, I don't think you got it, Sonny.
I'll tell you what, though, it makes me want one.
A wasp?
No,
A laser.
a laser.
It's like a lightsaber at this point.
The thing is badass. Like if you put a white piece of paper down, it'll just brown it. But if you put a dark piece of paper down, it'll set it on fire. Like within 10 seconds, it'll burst in flames. I don't know how they made it, who made it, whatever. I don't. But it is me and Chim Chim got a couple of them a few years ago. I haven't used it in years. I don't even know where it is, to be honest with you. But I'll dig it up just to burn Sonny again.
Burn people while they're rolling in the gym.
I tried.
God.
The problem is, it's like anything else. The farther out the laser goes, the more it bounces. Like the harder it is to keep focused on one spot. So like here to here, I can keep it on that one spot long enough to get the heat. But across the room, 20 feet across the room, even a little bit of a jiggle causes, a big jump, and it's not long enough to burn anybody. You have to like keep it steady on the table. And I did burn a few people while they were training. I remember one time I got that electric fly swatter, that yellow.
Oh, I remember that.
And I used to walk around smacking people with that while they were training.
Those were the days, man.
I tried we had the taser, like a legitimate real taser, and we had the alligator clips for it, because you have the stun gun part and you have the taser. Yeah. Well, taser gave us this piece that clips into the end, and instead of shooting the darts, they were just alligator clips. So you plug this thing in, and now you could put alligator clips on people and run the taser on them. So I had Monster walking through the door, and if you guys know who Monster is, you know how enjoyable it would be to tase that little bastard. And I ran the taser to the doorknob, hoping that when he grabbed it,
my God,
I'd hit the button and and it blew the taser up. Apparently, that's not how it works. I blew my own taser up. Didn't shock him at all.
Oh man,
Pissed me off.
Rob, how many black belts do you have, and what are their names?
Is that a question from you, or is that just
That's just my question.
Oh,
I can't ask one?
no, I'm just wondering what the source of it is. Let's see. I don't want to get this wrong, because there's a after all these years now, we got a good chunk. We got Chim Chim, Travis. Try and go in as close to order as I can. Chim Chim, Travis, Matt, Robbie, Badger, the Tom McCulley, Bamboo. Hold on. There's going to be a JR, Mikey Wacker, Neil Cohen. My God, we're getting a lot of them.
I don't know. I can't name them all. It's 10 so far, but I know.
Did you say Bamboo?
Yeah, I said Bam. Bam was one of the earlier ones. Hold on. I'm probably going to miss somebody. Angel, JR.
You said
I did. Okay. Angel. And then you have guys like Jeff Bailey, who Matt gave him to. I'm not necessarily forgetting about those guys, but these are guys I directly gave it to. Who else? No. I'm sorry. Jeff up in Pennsylvania, Jeff Reese.
12, 13. I don't know. I lost count.
12, 13. I think there's probably a couple more. Like you caught me on the spot, but there's I know I'm missing somebody or a few people.
Yeah.
And what is your process? I mean, I know that everybody has sort of their own method. And
Gabe Maldonado, of course.
Oh man.
Like, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, Gabe, how do you forget Gabe?
He's
Like,
gonna be mad at you.
Oh, Gabe, always mad.
So he'll forgive you now, though, because you remember.
No, I remember. No, it's just if I'd have thought about it,
he's
I would.
quiet. That's why.
Yeah, just he's quiet.
He just is very docile.
So like a lot of people have their own method.
Did I say Travis? I had to have said Travis.
Yeah, you said Travis. Now this is gonna bother him now.
Yeah, it is because I mean everybody worked hard and deserved it. I want to make sure I get all the people. What was your other question about?
My follow up to that is what is your sort of I know you have a time sort of basic time that you follow and a technique. You look at people's technique. You look at how long they've been training. What are the things that you sort of look at before you get that final step to the black belt?
I've always kind of had this in my head, a minimum skill level that you have to obtain to get to the next belt. Like, and if you can't reach this minimum skill, you can't get the belt. Like, there's a minimum number, or you want to assign a number or whatever, like a certain minimum skill level you have to get to each belt. From there, then I will factor in what I think that person's capable of. So a guy like Robbie, I'm not going to assign the minimum number to a guy like Robbie. That just doesn't work that way. Like for him to get to the neck, for him to have gotten to blue, to purple, to brown, like he's got to be performing well above that minimum number because his talent level dictates that.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not holding you to the minimum. You know what I'm saying? Like you're too talented for that. You have to go above that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but that minimum number really is there to catch that, 60-something-year-old guy or who's put his time in, he's trained. Again, even he has to get to a certain skill level before I'm going to give him the belt. Like I just feel like there has to be that standard that needs to be obtained, and if you can't make it, you can't make it. But a young guy who's talented, they're held to a much higher standard, in my opinion. And then there's the factor of bleeding at the belt. Like, again, when you use Robbie as an example, here's a guy who could probably catch a lot of black belts when he was a purple belt, but he hadn't had the time at the belts yet to get promoted. Like, and again, that's more of an ambiguous piece, but it is a piece. Like, because if you just get handed something, doesn't mean anything.
Sure.
You know, so
Sure.
like you have to bleed at the belts to make it mean something to you, and that way going forward, it means something to you to give it out to somebody.
Right.
You know, because how many times have we seen already in this jiu-jitsu community, you know, guys who maybe took shortcuts to get to their black belt, and we all know guys who've taken shortcuts to get a black belt, whose skill level wasn't so great, or didn't put the time in, got it another different way. How quick are they to hand out belts?
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they didn't have to bleed for it. They didn't have to earn it. So they handed out a lot quicker. And it just starts degrading the overall level of black belt. And I've seen that. With the popularity of jiu-jitsu, one of the observations I could make is this. The overall disparity at black belt is so big now. Whereas when I was first doing it, you know, if somebody got a black belt, it was like 100% that they were going to be good.
Mm.
You know, now with the number of people training, I would say that, you know, the elite of today are better than the elite of 20 years ago, just based on numbers. They have to be, you know, because you have more athletes doing it. Of course, they're going to be probably. So the elite of today are probably better than the elite of 20 years ago. But the problem is the disparity. You have some pretty horrible black belts walking around nowadays. You also have some amazing black belts walking around nowadays. So that disparity is there now, which I guess when it was smaller, the control was a little bit easier to keep. You know, now it's like, you know, it's hard to control. And so the only thing I can control is my promotions and my lineage. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't worry about anybody else's. And nowadays, I think it boils down to that. It's not even a question. People don't really say, oh, is he a black belt? It's who's he a black belt under?
Right.
Which gives us legitimacy or not.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays it's come to that. Well, oh yeah, who's he a black belt under? Becomes the kind of the bigger question nowadays because there's so many black belts.
Yeah, that's true. What do you think of the whole leg lock craze? Now everybody's doing leg locks, and if you're not doing leg locks, you suck at jiu-jitsu. Now,
listen, I've always been a big fan of things that work, and they're working right now. But I honestly don't think. I think jiu-jitsu is kind of cyclical. Just the nature of jiu-jitsu, the way it works, you know, people will spot weaknesses in a game and exploit them, and then there becomes a saturation point, and people get good at or become a lot more aware of them, dealing with them, countering them, defending them, and people start looking around for that other weak spot. And then they kind of go away again. And it's just the nature of jiu-jitsu is very cyclical. And I think right now was just a prime time for leg locks to kind of come back in vogue. Because I'd say 10, 15 years ago, there was a kind of a leg lock craze going on as well. And I think with leg locks, it's even a little bit more profound because the IFBJJ bans them so harshly. You know, you're not allowed
why
to
is that?
reap the knee. I don't know. I don't know why. If I'm wearing a terry cloth robe, how I treat the knee has to change so dramatically from wearing board shorts. But
you were around before the IBJJF, right?
Right before they started in '96. I consider my first day of jiu-jitsu really June 1st, '95.
And that started through the
But
Gracie family.
there was jiu-jitsu tournaments before then. Like there was gi tournaments for you know, from the 50s and 40s or whatever. There's always been gi tournaments going on. What the rules were, I think the rules might have been different over the years, but I think what the IFBJJ did was kind of standardize the rules in Brazil, create like a governing body with the idea of going to the Olympics one day. I think that was the original intent of the IFBJJ. So I don't, you know, I'm only familiar with the rules since I started. I don't know how much they've changed. In fact, Rorion Gracie's rules are still one of my favorites. They were it was no time limit, 15 points or tap.
That's where I got that. I said that in
Yeah,
the
you
last
said
podcast because you told me that.
Yeah, those
That's
are
great.
Those
I
are
like
great
it,
rules. You know, so if somebody passes your guard, they get 3 points. They can't just sit down on you and wait it out. They got to do something. Like I thought that was a really good. I like the Eddie Bravo rules too. Actually, I think that gives you a definitive winner. It gives guys a chance to attack. But anytime you have a rule set, you're going to have guys doing things to bypass them or to
exploit
to find that
exploit them,
yeah. So now you're seeing guys will stall the entire 10 minutes to get to the OT because they're really good at escaping or something. Yeah. I mean, so you're always going to get that. But I think Eddie's rules are the best rules currently going. And the old Horan Gracie rules I liked a lot too.
Yeah, I think Eduardo Teles was headed towards, if he had won every match, he would have been the first EBI champion to not get paid any money.
Well, I actually, when we were there with Robbie, I'd said like, he's like taking a very communist view of jiu-jitsu. Like, I'm going to win, but I am not taking any money for it whatsoever. Like I just thought the strategy was a little nuts. Like,
Again, mad props to him for, being 40 and doing that.
Oh, no, the guy's a stud and props to him for doing it. But I'm like, I'd like to factor in some money out of this, like, if possible. But it is what it is, I guess.
Speaking of 40 years old, you're what, 45 now?
45, yeah.
How is your approach to training, do you think, is going to change or is changing?
I mean, I think it's changed over the last, almost 10 years, I'd say. Like, I guess, more about the flow, less. I definitely have become more of a counter puncher over the years than I used to be when I was younger. A lot more aggressive, very more similar to the way Robbie is,
right.
with the attack, more aggressively attacking. That was kind of what my game was all through my 20s and my early mid 30s, and then I've kind of morphed more into a counter puncher over the years, and I think it's more because not necessarily because I'm getting older, but because I'm training less and conditioning less. And if you're going to play that aggressive attacking game, you better be in shape for it, because you got to set a certain pace that you need to keep, and I'm not comfortable keeping that pace right now. I'd rather sit back and wait for the right opportunity.
Yeah, I just got done. I had to stop taking Advil because I was abusing it so much, because that's what I had to do to be able to train with these guys. Just, eat 4 to 6 of them.
You're impressive though, Sonny.
Yeah, man.
You're so old and you can still hang in there.
He moves like me. You're actually more agile than me.
I don't know how that's possible, but
you are.
You are, dude.
Maybe for now.
It's pretty impressive.
But your time is on your side, Squid.
Poor Jim Campbell has questions for Rob.
What Game of Thrones character would he be? The Red Viper. No, forget him. He had some gay scenes. Forget him. If it wasn't for the gay scenes, I'd say the Red Viper. But who would I be?
The Red Viper. I don't even know which one that is.
Yeah, what's his name? Martell from Dorne. The guy who got his head smushed by the mountain.
Oh, I have to
Season
watch
4.
I forget it all.
Shit.
I haven't seen any. I tried watching like a couple episodes. I couldn't get into it.
You're like the one guy.
Yeah.
The one guy who couldn't get into it.
I couldn't get into that other one that Jimmy wanted me to watch. The one about the cops there. I forget what
The
it's
Wire?
The Wire, yeah.
I couldn't get into that either.
Dude, what? That
Bro,
show is the shit.
Sonny, you should just kill yourself.
Have you watched Vikings yet?
Two greatest shows ever, The Wire and Game of Thrones.
Oh, man.
Period.
I don't know. I like my shows short. I like miniseries instead. I can't follow them when they drone on and on and on. TV shows like Lost, it just never stopped.
Nah, I couldn't get lost.
Get into that either.
I never watched.
Then I heard the ending was all shitty, so pass.
Oh, all right. You know what? I'll give Jim Campbell an answer. I'll go with Khal Drogo. He's a badass and he was straight.
What do you think about Wagner Rocha kicking AJ Agasar off the stage?
I didn't see it. I heard tell. Yeah, see if you can pull it up for me. Let me tell you. I mean, I know those guys got, a bunch of history and drama over the years. I'm not exactly sure what started it. I think, I know they had a match or two when AJ was like a purple and Wagner was like a brown.
When AJ was a purple, what happened was at that.
Oh, I think AJ beat him in points one time.
No,
and then Wagner choked him out in the next match.
AJ's never beaten him. What happened was, we were all like, I remember I was there,
and he patted him on the head or something like that.
AJ was like going up to Wagner and like getting in his face.
Really?
But he didn't know Wagner. He was just like, "What? What are you gonna do?" Like,
are you serious?
Yeah, like really like. In a weird way, and he was doing that to several people, from what I understand. And then he had the match with. I remember because Wagner was going around. He was like, "Who the fuck is that guy?" And then he had the match with him, and he puts him in a triangle. This dude won't tap to shit.
Yeah, no,
It's like you break his arm because I had a match with him too, and he wouldn't.
He wouldn't tap.
It was amazing to me. That was the most amazing thing about this guy's
jiu-jitsu. He has he's one of the hardest guys I've ever seen to finish something on. Like he's got a really unbelievable ability to take submissions way past. Oh Jesus! Rewind that.
Yeah, go back.
Holy shit! Holy shit!
I think it'll just reset. Here it goes. So like a little smack in the face.
He like threw a punch at him. Oh my god!
That was like
straight up. This is Sparta. Kick.
He landed on one of the families at my gym.
Oh yeah, the Stolbergs.
So he landed on there.
Whoa, man. Listen, I'm Team Wagner, so I'm okay. I like Wagner. And I saw some of the promos before the event, and AJ was talking mad trash about how he was going to put Wagner on the shelf and put him in his place, and
he said he was going to do something with Wagner's unconscious body. Like,
yeah, I saw that too.
People take pictures with Wagner's unconscious body. Wagner's comeback was good though.
Oh,
who have you ever choked unconscious?
Yeah. This was like the day of the weigh-ins. They have it up on whatever that the same website. And he was like, I'm here to explain to Wagner that he's not on my level. He's good, but he's 2 or 3 levels below me. My job is to come and explain to people that they're not world class. I'm world class. I'm here to put him in on the shelf that he belongs on. Like, just really, really some heavy trash talking going on before that match. So,
what do you think about all the trash talk? Like back in the day, it was just not like that. Now all of a sudden, everyone's talking shit.
I am not a fan of trash talking unless there is a reason for it, like i.e. money. Like,
right.
Listen, there's never going to be a lot of money in jiu-jitsu tournaments.
You don't think so?
No, it's not. I love jiu-jitsu. I've been doing it for 20-something years, and I fucking hate jiu-jitsu tournaments. They're boring as fuck half the time. Like, most matches are not exciting. They're not. And if I'm not excited to watch jiu-jitsu tournaments, how the fuck is the average fan going to be excited for most of them? So it's never going to be a big spectator sport. Like, there's never going to be like real money on the table. So, like, you get a guy like Connor, UFC. I'm totally a fan of his trash talking because it puts asses in the seats. It makes them money. Like, that's the business end of it. I get it. I just don't see there ever being real big money in MMA. So,
you mean jiu-jitsu?
I am sorry, in jiu-jitsu. So the trash talking I don't think is needed. I respect your opponent. Plus when you talk all that trash and then you lose,
you look stupid. Yeah,
it don't look so good.
Well, now EBI, it's like $20,000. You could win $20,000.
Yeah, but and again, that's great. But again, there's nothing. Like, from what I understand, like that seems to be the upper limits of what anybody's going to be able to pay, and there's an interesting dynamic there with UFC Fight Pass looking to fill some needing some content, and so they had to put something in there, and it worked out great, so that that submission grapplers can make that type of money. But even still, $20,000. That's if you submit every single person
That's true.
all the way through. So, and the chances of that happening against world-class guys aren't as super as high. So,
Yeah.
you know, and again, even if you trash talk, it's still 20 grand. It's not like, you know, you're going to get to a point where Fight Pass is going to start paying you a percentage of dollars because you're bringing all this audience to your submission grappling match.
Right.
So, I mean, like I said, if it's directly putting money in your pocket, trash talk all you like. You know, it's about making money. But outside of that, I'd say keep it respectful. You know,
those the Danaher Death Squad. Those guys are famous for talking shit on the internet right now. That's all they do. Is talk shit to each other.
To each other.
Well, to each other, and then they talk. Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do actually.
They do actually. Yeah.
It's actually kind of funny.
It is. It is kind of funny.
Him and Gary, and then they go against Tom DeBlass sometimes.
All the time. I kind of feel bad for him sometimes.
I mean, like I said, I'm older. To me, I'm not a. I mean, I like trash talking, friendly trash talking, you know, amongst each other in the gym and stuff. But like, you know, tournament scene, I don't think it's. Again, unless it's putting money in your pocket, what the hell's the point? You know, I think you respect everybody for getting on the mat.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, but you know, look, they're doing really well. They're super. You know, they're killing it out there right now in the tournament scene. They're young. It's pretty easy to get a little cocky and get excited when you're having that type of success. What else? Any other good questions up there? Or
Let me see. What is the best entry into Berimbolo? Kevin wants to know. Kevin's a smart ass. And Chad's wife, Queen Ayahuasca, wants to know, when are you going to partake in an ayahuasca journey? Because
never. That let me tell you, from what I've seen, you know, anybody who's a Howard Stern fan knows what ayahuasca is because Robin Quivers did it.
Yeah, I heard
and her experience does not sound at all entertaining to me. Like,
get your own bucket to throw up.
Throwing up, violent diarrhea, and then hallucinating for like 12 straight hours is not my idea of a good time.
Nope.
No. That doesn't sound good at all. In the least bit.
You could just do mushrooms at home.
You know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, there's a special on Netflix about ayahuasca too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta watch
and
that.
yeah, it's pretty. I forgot whether it's a specific documentary or it's like one of those shows that document something every week, like it's a weekly show. But there was a whole special about all these people going down doing ayahuasca, and they were videoing them the whole time. They just had night vision cameras on them. Some people were throwing up, and diarrhea. Some people were just like just going off into their own world.
Where was it at?
In was it Chile?
Peru, maybe?
Peru? One of
I think Peru is where she went.
Yeah, Peru or Chile. Whatever.
You got to go down. You got to pay to do it.
Yeah, you go there and there's like a shaman who mixes the shit, like this ancient recipe, and they, you know, mix it and do all these chants and all
I
these
feel like that guy's probably just laughing.
metaphysical. Well, there's one.
Just like these
Mixing
people.
it like
There's one American
idiots.
dude down there who became like a shaman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like, you know, they're doing
Steven
those chants.
Seagal.
They do this thing where they blow smoke into your face while you're doing it, and it's supposed to have some, you know, scaring spirits away shit. And it's like, no, it's a drug that's affecting your brain. It has nothing to do with spirits, like chasing away spirits.
Chasing the dragon.
That sounds like something off Indianapolis Jones. I mean, Indiana Jones.
Indianapolis
Jones.
Squid's young.
Indianapolis Jones.
That's like an ancient movie for you.
That's the 2016 version.
Indianapolis Jones. He was a stock car driver, wasn't he?
Well, I think that's all the questions that we have.
Dak Prescott is fucking killing it this year.
Is that a basketball player?
No, he's
That's football. I think that's football.
yeah. The Cowboys.
LeBron plays golf, right?
This guy, they picked up this guy. The Cowboys have like a, you know, Pro Bowl quarterback, Tony Romo. Guy's a stud, and but he's, you know, he's getting a little bit older. He's had a couple injuries the last few years. He's had some injury issues, and so the Cowboys drafted a quarterback in the 4th round this year, which is like, you know, a later round pick. And of course, Romo goes down in the preseason with an injury. And in the NFL, like, there are teams literally in you know, the history of their team they've never had a good quarterback. Like, finding an elite quarterback in the NFL is like,
There's not many.
yeah, you're talking about just, tiny little shot of finding an elite quarterback. Usually, then to find it, or even to find a good quarterback. There's teams who've literally been in the league 30, 40 years, never even really had a good quarterback, much less an elite one. Like most franchises you can name, probably have never really had a great quarterback. Well, fucking Tony Romo's a great quarterback, but he's getting old, and he looks like he might not have that much longer. So they pull this guy out of the 4th round, which is a late round draft pick, and he gets stuck in as a rookie to play, and the guy's been playing fucking out of his mind. Like, one of the...
He's really good.
Yeah, he's going to be like Rookie of the Year. Guy is killing it. So they're going from, like, you get a good quarterback, you're set for 10 years, 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
So they're literally, like, it's a perfect time. They got Tony Romo, who's still probably got a good couple years left. This kid's playing already Pro Bowl ball as a rookie, which is unheard of, pretty much. And so he's ready to go. Like, when Romo comes back from injury, this kid's just going to get better and better and better. And, when Romo's ready to walk away in a year or two, he might not even have a choice. This kid's so good, they might just
put him in now.
Just just have to trade Romo. I mean, Romo's done so much for that franchise. I don't see them doing that, but it's possible. Like, this kid's playing ridiculous.
How are you a Cowboys fan and you're from New York?
When I was a kid, my first recollection of football, of watching footballs with my father, it was one of the Dallas-Pittsburgh Super Bowls in the 70s. They played each other, I think, twice in the 70s, and they played again in the 90s in the Super Bowl. But this was one of them. I think it was like 77, so I was like 6 years old, and I'm watching this Super Bowl, and it's the guys with the silver stars on their helmets, and the white against the guys the black and yellow, and I just gravitated to the guys with the stars. And Roger Staubach was the quarterback. I just started liking the Cowboys before I knew, that you're supposed to root for your home team.
Yeah.
And, the Cowboys were always kind of America's team. So they played on national TV a lot. So I got to see them, not every week, but they were on TV, during football season. They were on 3 or 4 or 5 times a season. So I got to see them a lot.
Any Eagles fans out there, they'd kill you.
Oh, the Eagles. Fuck the Eagles.
Emmett Smith, baby. Emmett Smith.
Just like the one NFL person he named. Just throwing it out there. Hoping that the guy plays for the Cowboys.
Hoping that he plays football.
Yeah. When I was a kid, my cousins live in Philly, and Philly fans are the worst. They're the worst, the meanest.
They take it
people.
so serious.
And that's with like every sport that they do.
Even, did you guys ever see the Philly rant? Bill Burr's Philly rant?
No, but I'm going to.
Oh, it is the greatest thing ever. Bill Burr goes on, and there was some festival, and they were all drinking. Philly guys were they're all hammered. And so there was comedians who went on before him. They wouldn't even give the dude a chance. They were just fucking hammering him. Like, every comedian that was going on, they were just booing him because they were drunk, and that's what they were going to do. So Bill Burr decides, you know what? Fuck these people. And he goes out. He doesn't even go into his routine. He just starts telling these people what a bunch of shitheads Philadelphia people are.
Yeah, that's right.
For about 15 minutes straight. He's like, you fucking fat, fucking cheesesteak eating douchebags.
And he ends up winning them over, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he winds up winning them over. And he's like, you guys, he goes, I got 15 minutes up here. You're going to get 15 minutes of me telling you what a bunch of high cholesterol, fat, bald, stupid motherfuckers you are. 14 minutes. You got 14 minutes left of me telling you, fuck the Flyers, fuck the Eagles. And he just went down a list and it was just off the top of his head. He just started ranting. And by the end, the Philly fans were cheering him like crazy. They thought he was great. It's so funny to listen to him just go over the top.
My favorite comedian out there.
Oh,
for sure.
Yeah, by far.
Yeah, hilarious.
My friend, actually, I did a podcast with him a few months ago. Colin Moulton, great guy. He's a professional comedian. Headlines around the country. Funny as hell. Absolutely hysterical. So we did a podcast. He's got a podcast up and running that's a little bit jiu-jitsu, a little bit MMA, a little bit of this. So I did it when he was in town, and he was telling the story, because I'd mentioned Bill Burr, and he's like, "Oh my God, I'm such a fucking fan of Bill Burr." Like, as a comedian too, I just love what he does. And so I guess they had some mutual friends, and they were in like the Comedy Store, or the Comedy Factory, wherever. And Bill Bill Burr's there eating lunch. I guess just happened to be there. So one of their mutual friends is like, "Oh, you want to go meet Bill Burr?" He's like, "Holy shit, that's Bill Burr! Holy fuck, yeah." So he goes over, and they get introduced, and Colin's like, "Mr. Burr, it's such a fucking honor to meet you. Like, I'm just such a big fan. I don't even, I don't want to like blow it up too much, but I'm just such a big fan." And Bill Burr just stops, doesn't break stride. He looks at him and he's like, "No, this isn't fucking awkward or anything. You fucking gushing all over me while I'm fucking trying to eat my lunch." And he turns back, and Colin's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." He's like, "I'm just fucking with you, kid." Like, without missing a stride. He was like, "Nah, this ain't awkward. You fucking gushing all over me while I'm trying to fucking eat my food." It's perfect timing that guy has.
Did you ever do jiu-jitsu with anybody famous?
Yeah, Ed O'Neill, like Al Bundy.
Oh.
We're actually still friends to this day. I talk to him. We either talk or text. Usually about once every couple months, we'll text and talk, or talk. One of the true nice guys in the like, such a good dude. I've actually Shaquille O'Neal too. I've trained with Shaq from.
Oh, that's right.
From John Burke, but
you armbarred the shit out of him, right?
No, he's too strong. He curled me like a baby.
I would have loved to see that. The guy is gigantic.
He literally picked me up from an armbar. He was in my guard. He picked me up like a little boy.
How do you roll with him? Being your size. I mean, like, I could probably roll with him and still feel like, oh.
I mean, it's
but it's got to be ridiculous.
Totally. And remember, I was only about 175 pounds back then. So I caught him with a rear naked or two, and then a triangle.
Were you scared getting on his back? Like, I'm gonna get on this person's back? And
no, not at that. I'll tell you, when he ripped me up in the air from the armbar, that was pretty freaky. Like, to feel gravity not exist so quickly, like, it was just like,
oh my God, exactly.
Like, I mean, I was facing, my head was higher than my legs. Like, I was almost standing up on his shoulders. It was like that type of angle, how quickly he yanked me in the air.
The closest I felt with that was Marcus Jones.
Yeah, but picture that type of strength, but now add 4, 5, 6 inches of length to the leverage. Like, as strong as Marcus was, the problem with Shaq is like, his arms are so freaking long that I'm literally only armbarring about 10% of it.
You can't.
I'm over the elbow. Like, if you really look how long his arm is, I'm over just this little bit of elbow space. Like, most people when you armbar them, their wrist is like right around your chest, right?
Yeah.
Shaq's wrist was like past my head. So I'm just on this, little chunk of arm. He's like, "What, are you kidding me?"
Well, if you want to see Rob Kahn in person or take a class from him, go to his gym, Gracie, Tampa North, on Nebraska Avenue in Tampa, Florida.
And Fletcher.
Nebraska and Fletcher.
GracieTampa.com.
Learn jiu-jitsu, MMA, self-defense, all of it.
Best school in the world.
Thank you, my brother.